Episode 5 of Rings of Power is here, well, Season 2 anyway. And somehow this episode finally tipped the scale, and not in a good way. And let's be honest, the show has been struggling with uneven pacing and weak character development, but this episode's bad writing and lackluster storytelling really take the cake. I'm Will, I'm the host of the Board Book Geek, like sub do the usual, and if you want early access and exclusive content, please consider joining my Patreon. So let's start the show. Watching this episode felt like watching paint dry. Episode 5 feels directionless. The plot seems to linger with little urgency, and it's hard to tell if the show knows where it's going. Instead of giving us meaningful character moments or advancing the story, we're served bland, drawn-out scenes that seem to exist purely to fill time. Every line of dialogue felt forced, and it becomes difficult to invest in these characters, because their actions feel unnatural and often without real consequences. And what makes it worse is the character motivations are all over the place. The show doesn't seem to know what to do with itself, what to do with the leads, what to do with the world that it's taking place in. Characters make really poor decisions in this episode, not because it's believable or compelling, but because its script demands it. And honestly, it feels cheap. Shows like the Chronicles of Shannara, or Shannara Chronicles, were far better than this, and that show was god-awful when it came to storytelling. Often I feel like I'm just watching a high school drama, or a fan film. But, saying that, there are better fan films of Lord of the Rings. One of the early appeals of the Rings of Power before all the leaks and information came out was a chance to explore Middle-earth's rich history in diverse settings. And Episode 5 had an opportunity to do that. But instead of the grandeur and complexity we might expect from Tolkien's world, we get superficial visuals, occasional hollow lore dumps, and honestly, this was a missed opportunity to immerse us in this ancient and cultures and storied culture as well. But instead we get flat dialogue and none of the depths or wonder of what Tolkien's work is known for. It feels like the writers here intentionally don't do this because, in their own words, I'm pretty sure they believe they're better than Tolkien. Instead, we get high school drivel, a CW show, the way it's handled, the way the setting, the way the characters happen, and the way plot beats happen. There is nothing here of particular depth, other than just info dumping and set chewing, and mystery box storytelling, which J.J. Abrams is 100% responsible for. If you want the honest truth, I felt like I was watching a drawn-out soap opera. Everyone was there, but it lacked any substance. And what should have been tension, there's only frustration. The stakes of Hall of Stones are never properly felt because the outcomes are predictable. The show tries to build suspense through mystery box storytelling, but it's hard to stay engaged with the plot twists that are so obvious to start with. You see them coming from miles away. Moments that should be emotional or intense fall flat because they're so poorly written. Even with the looming threat, it doesn't feel like they matter, whether it's an evil force that has been teased or an interpersonal conflict. Everything just feels shallow. Characters are caught in a cycle of making the same bad decisions, and instead of raising the tension, it just makes my viewers' eyes roll, and for good reason. Episode 5 of Rings of Power was massive disappointment. For the budget and hype surrounding this series, it feels like the showrunners have forgotten the most important aspect: good storytelling. Beautiful settings aren't enough to carry a show that is written which is written like this. It's so poorly written, it's unbelievable. A weak narrative that leaves people wondering if they'll ever find it. Honestly, I could read this out, what I wrote, and just keep going. The weak narrative of this show really shows, and that's not a sentence that works in English, but it's true. You need a stronger narrative, you need tension, you don't need info dumping and mystery box storytelling. There is no deep immersive storytelling here because the episodes just feel like they drag on and on and on. Episode 5 felt like they were trying so hard to add some context, to add something a little bit deeper, but again it fell flat. The problem is, you have a show that is so badly written, and that's always been my main criticism. The writing in this show, its mystery box storytelling, and its endless lack of consequences and stupid decisions feel like plot MacGuffins, and this episode is prime example of it. The rings and the Vampire Diaries, for example, once an important part of the plot, but then everyone had them, and this is how it feels. It's a plot MacGuffin, so the vampires can have scenes in the day, and they save some budget instead of doing night shoots. Rings of Power is disjointed, and this episode really does feel that. A disjointed mess with little action or little intensity that just didn't work. I don't get how they're writing this show when you have such a rich tapestry to use. The endless set chewing and the endless missed opportunities for character development or something a little bit stronger. What was the point to this? Again, aimless motivations, aimless storytelling, aimless characterization. I don't think they know what they're doing, and it feels like they're just throwing mud at the wall to see what sticks. You have an opportunity here to create something amazing. Instead, you're creating something that people are switching off from. The ratings are not good. And considering what it's lost in viewership, it goes to tell. It doesn't help a lot of the cast are genuinely unlikable and can't really act, but I don't think it's the actor's fault. That's the issue here. Actors are not to blame for bad acting, usually. They're doing their best with weak scripts, and that's what I'm getting the vibe here. When you're seeing these numbers, it's not a good look. Amazon reported that the series reached 40 million viewers globally in 11 days, and that certainly sounds impressive. But when you look at the charts and actual going into it, when you think about it, when you look back on it, season 1 had 25 million viewers in a single day. The premiere of the first 2 episodes, just for comparison, another high-profile series. Amazon remains optimistic about this mess. Honestly, I think this show, it only exists because of a contract. I don't think there is much love going on. And the problem is, when you're caught in a work environment, and given the fact there's rumours that certain actors don't get on, it really shows. It's a massive steep decline from season 2, and season 2 viewership is plummeting, and this is the reason. Just, Amazon, I have advice. Pay out of this contract. Get rid of this show that's bleeding you dry, because no one is going to really be interested in this show. So, the numbers will get worse as it goes on, and the budget cut for the next few seasons, which exists purely because of contract, are obvious. Hire better writers, hire people, but I don't think there's anything worth saving in this show. Let's be honest here. So, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.